Senator Martinez joined J.P. Morgan Chase in July of 2010 and currently serves as chairman of Southeast United States and Latin America for J.P. Morgan Chase. Immigrant, English as a second language, foster child, minimum wage job, junior college graduate, and a public university education. Please welcome Senator Mel Martinez.
David Odohosky had to walk with me everywhere I go and introduce me. That's a very kind introduction, and thank you, David, very, very much. What a great thing to be a part of this morning and this exciting opportunity to come together and talk about how we can make Florida yet an even better place. I'm excited by the people who have come before me, Mark Wilson, and his inspiring observations about the status of Florida and the disparities that exist in our state. Also, which is a great theme setter for what we might say and others will be saying today. And Will Weatherford, whom I think so highly of, I wish he was back in government. You know, I don't know why we would lose him from that, but he's doing a lot of good in the private sector and certainly in his work with the chamber. I'm delighted to get to see him today and hear from him. And of course, Adam Putnam, Commissioner Putnam. I didn't know this change in the food nutrition program for our schools. What a great idea. And who better than the Department of Agriculture to do it? So I was impressed by that and also his passion about the topic of the day. So it's great to be a part of this wonderful array of people that are coming before you today. So as a business community, it's important that we understand the barriers Floridians face when it comes to achieving economic prosperity. The Chamber recognizes the critical role we all play as business and leaders to help tackle these issues, and I applaud them for getting us together to share in best practices and develop joint solutions. Florida continues to be a destination for people seeking a full and better life, a life of opportunity. You know, in my current role, I get to meet a lot of people who are now operating in Florida, but who perhaps only a few years ago were working elsewhere in another state. I'm not talking about those that are loading the family in the car and traveling to Central Florida, knowing that they're going to find a job somewhere. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Or those many who have found refuge here as a result of the ravages of the recent hurricanes from our neighboring island, our fellow citizens from Puerto Rico. I'm talking about the people who because of tax reasons have said, you know what, I make so much money. I want to do it in Florida because you don't have an income tax. But they come here and they prosper and they do well, and they take advantage of that opportunity of a no-income tax state. But as they do, they're also generating economic opportunity and jobs. But what I'm trying to say is that what has been happening for many years is only going to accelerate as a result of the recent changes in the tax law and the non-deductibility of the income taxes they're paying in other states. So more and more people will continue to come to this state, and as we continue to see that growth, we continue to see Florida gain in prosperity and gain in residents, but the problems don't go away. Unfortunately, as we've already heard this morning, economic prosperity is still hard to reach for many, and it is uneven. Nearly 3 million Floridians are living in poverty, including 870,000 children. My heartbreak is from those that in our very community are living in substandard housing. They may not be completely homeless, but they're living in a motel on a night-to-night basis. In recent years, following the economic downturn in Hurricanes Irma and Maria, we've seen an alarming increase in people experiencing homelessness due to the lack of affordable housing. And local business owners, the engine of our economy, are struggling to find workers with the right set of skills. These issues are not just specific to Florida. We're seeing these challenges across the country and candidly around the globe as well. Middle-class Americans now comprise less than half of the nation's population. Middle-class incomes have fallen 4% since the year 2000. It's 9% lower for low-income families. Households up and down the income ladder experienced tremendous income volatility, and that volatility is on the rise. People are struggling with economic uncertainty under stagnating wages and soaring costs. They're losing trust in institutions to do the right thing. Too many young people entering the labor market are finding themselves stuck in low-skill, low-wage jobs, or worse, unemployed and out of school. We do a lot of work around the summer youth employment in Florida and see the difficulty that so many young people, particularly those in underserved areas, have in just getting a summer job. Summer is coming. We'll see that scenario repeat itself. More than 5.5 million young adults in the United States are disconnected from work and school. Meanwhile, more than 6 million jobs across the country go unfilled. While these may not be new problems, they require new solutions. They require more collaborative leadership. They require us to think long-term and to help people prepare for the opportunities and the challenges of a global economy. And finally, they require us to think beyond our traditional roles. Government cannot solve these problems, certainly not on its own. We've tried that and it hasn't worked. And we can't just leave the burden to the not-for-profit sector. The business community has to play a much more active role. Businesses have always been the central and vital institutions of society that generate prosperity and produce goods and services that meets people's needs and improve their lives. They contribute to building societies in which we want to live. How a business operates, how it is governed, its culture, its integrity, and the products and services it offers, how it protects and advances value for its shareholders, the way it treats its employees and cares for its clients and its communities says a lot about whether the company is going to be successful and is going to be around for the long term. These same attributes that drive business success also offer tremendous promise to help solve pressing societal challenges. And this is the fundamental shift we need to make. Societal challenges must be seen as business challenges, and business needs to leverage what makes them successful to help their communities thrive. The notion that a company needs to strike a balance between its business objectives and the well-being of its communities is simply outdated. The future of business and community is inextricably linked. When we think about how to grow business, we know we have to think of investing in technology and workforce and infrastructure, investments that may not pay dividends in the next quarter or the next year, but are critically important in helping secure our company's long-term future. We need to think about investments in our communities in the same way. They're long-term investments that drive future prospects of our companies and position them to succeed for decades to come. So let me tell you how J.P. Morgan is thinking about these issues. You saw a clip of a video, but let me deepen on that a moment. We first recognized that the single most important asset we have is our employees, and we need to continually invest in them. Earlier this year, we raised the minimum salary of our U.S. employees to between $15 and $18 an hour, an average increase of 10%. This pay increase impacted 1,300 of our bank tellers, customer service representatives, and other employees right here in Florida. We also invest more than $320 million a year in employee training and development, developing opportunities so that our workers can continue to sharpen their skills and also advance their careers as they do so. Second, we understand the success of our company is directly linked to the success of our communities. So for us, corporate responsibility has become a strategic imperative. Recognizing the growing economic challenges that so many of our communities face, and in an effort to strengthen the impact of our work, we undertook a thorough review of our philanthropic efforts about 5 years ago. It was really interesting because it came at a time when I was asked to preside over our J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation, global foundation, giving away millions and millions of dollars literally hundreds of millions of dollars a year around the globe. So while we were dedicating a tremendous amount of money, we really weren't moving the needle, and pressing issues that were facing our communities remained. It just became clear that we were throwing a lot of money around, and it was going to good things, but we weren't really making a difference. So we tried to refocus our foundation. We made a strategic change. We narrowed and refined our approach to focus on areas where J.P. Morgan Chase has unique capabilities and knowledge, areas where we could more fully draw and leverage on the resources within our firm. Over the past 5 years, we have developed and refined the model, and this was informed by data and was based on evidence about some of the most effective ways that we can drive inclusive growth. Our efforts on areas that are aligned with our business expertise, areas where we believe we can have the greatest impact in jobs and skills, small business expansion, financial health, and neighborhood revitalization. We have since undertaken significant long-term initiatives focused on advancing these pillars of opportunity by bridging the skills gap, boosting small business growth, investing in community development that revitalizes neighborhoods, and giving people tools and resources to manage their financial health. As proof of the concept for this new approach and to drive inclusive growth, we put the model to work in Detroit, one of America's most distressed cities. I think we would all agree that if there was a basket case, Detroit would be it. Little anecdote, I know when I got to HUD, someone at the bean counters came to see me one day to alarm me with the news that we had given a grant to Detroit of $24 million, and that actually we didn't know what had happened to the money. I went to see the mayor. He didn't know what happened to the money. It's a sad story. A lot changed in Detroit. We saw a confluence that there was a moment in time when a good governor met a good mayor. The two of them were working together on a bipartisan basis. The governor was a Republican. The mayor was a Democrat. But think of what a concept. They put that garbage aside and decided to work for the good of their community. They knew Detroit was in trouble. So they went there to help. 5 years ago, after decades of neglect and mismanagement, we saw a community coming together. We saw leaders setting their differences aside and focusing on the things that would truly improve the lives of the people in the city. We saw the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and community groups all coming together around the very specific strategies and plans to create jobs and improve services. Seeing this, our chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon, told us to go to Detroit and see what we could do to help. In 2014, we launched our most comprehensive effort to date, leveraging the full resources of our firms and expertise together for the first time to accelerate Detroit's turnaround. Our initial $100 million investment to support the city's recovery has since grown to $150 million. By working closely with deeply committed and knowledgeable partners, our coordinated investments across a range of elements are making a real impact. We're equipping Detroit residents with skills for jobs that are in demand in the city. We're helping minority small business owners grow, and we're providing capital for housing and retail projects to create livable, inclusive, and sustainable neighborhoods. We also had people volunteering from across the company to go to Detroit for 30 days at a time, on company time, to help with a neighborhood organization, to help with a community development financial institution, to do what they could do with their skill set, to go in there and roll up their sleeves and help. Detroit has become a beacon of hope for what is possible. There is a sense of optimism there once again. Our work in Detroit has also provided us with a host of insights which we're now applying around the country, but more particularly right here in Florida. We're making significant investments in research and programs to help solve our state's affordable housing crisis. Last year, we announced a $5 million investment in the Florida Community Loan Fund to develop multifamily rental apartment complexes and allow nonprofits to bulk purchase foreclosed properties and rehabilitate them for affordable rental housing. We're making investments to help create more opportunities for underserved small business owners to access capital and boost their growth. For example, we funded Grameen America's recent expansion into Miami-Dade County. In less than 5 months, the microlender has already provided 100 loans to local women entrepreneurs to help them build and grow their businesses. We're also focused on connecting youth to high-quality education and training that leads to well-paying jobs and long-term careers. Our $1 million investment in Hillsborough Community College helped develop the Advanced Transportation Technology Center, which now offers 8 industry-recognized programs. Whether we're talking about Florida, Detroit, Chicago, Washington, D.C., or the work we're undertaking in Europe and Asia, the challenges facing our communities are not all that unique. We're seeing that we can make a real impact by focusing on these key drivers of opportunity. We as business leaders cannot afford to stay on the sidelines as more and more Floridians are living in poverty. We know from experience that a business can make a real difference. We can leverage our resources not only in our core business expertise, but we can do it in all of these other areas to drive the kind of inclusive growth that improves our society. And I would submit to you that we also have a responsibility to do that. What I've seen through my public and private career is that extraordinary things can happen when people set aside their differences, roll up their sleeves, and ask, what can I do to help? That's what Mark Wilson said typically happens when businesses find out what is going on in the community and what help is needed. In my experience, when the public, private, and nonprofit sectors come together, it is the most powerful combination to make things happen and transform communities. When I was county mayor, I'm here to tell you, we wouldn't have neighborhoods clinics today if it hadn't been because the not-for-profit sector, county government, and local businesses, the hospitals, all came together to see that reality happen. We wouldn't have after-school programs if we hadn't had the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the school system, the county government, all pitching together to make those middle school age kids have a place to go after school hours. Those are the things that, frankly, in my public service are the most endearing and the most powerful. These are great stories of things that can happen by a community coming together and working together. I'm going to end here. I'm really delighted to have a chance to speak to you this morning and to commend those of you in the not-for-profit sector that are here today for the work that you do. I think there are a couple of things that I want to remind you of. Number one, each of us as a business and community leaders have a responsibility to lead in our communities and our state. Gone are the days when government could do it all. We must accept the challenge and strive to, working together, all of us, make a difference in our communities. Thank you very much. Okay.
Senator Martinez, we only have time for one question from the audience. Anti-immigration hostility is increasing across our country. You're a great example of opportunity and the American dream. Can you please comment on this disturbing trend and what business leaders can do?
You give me only one question. I'm glad it was a simple matter, not a lot of controversy. Well, you know, let me say this. David, in a very kind way, told you a little bit about my story. I'm an immigrant. I came to this country with nothing. I was not illegal, but I was borderline illegal because we were escaping from Cuba in those days, you know, which still happens even to this day. I always believed that America was a land of opportunity. I always believed that America was a beacon of hope. Even when I lived in Cuba in the darkest days, living under tyranny, it was always clear to me that there was a better life somewhere else and that it was only for me a few miles away. That same land of opportunity that had that promise sitting out there like a shining city on a hill manifested itself to me. The welcoming, the warmth with which I was received in this community told me that the American people were really good people and were a welcoming community. The first time I ran for public office and Michael Griffith was covering all these things in the Orlando Sentinel at the time. Orlando only had a voting population of 8% Hispanics. The night that I was elected mayor of Orange County, I won with 60% of the vote of the people around my community that voted for me, that didn't share my heritage, that didn't speak my native language, and put up with my English as a second language as best I could do at the time and even now. And so what I have to say to you is that we're better than some of the rhetoric we hear today. It is a difficult problem. A country does have to protect its borders, but we're a welcoming nation, and we should always remember that, because we are at our best, we are at our finest when we reach out to someone in need and help pull them out of trouble and give them a place to be that can be safer, that can be home, and that can provide them with the kind of opportunity that I've had. We are better than the way we talk sometimes. I'm respectful of people understanding that laws have to be observed, but I'm also here to tell you we're a good country, we're a good people. Our better angels are always just a little far away, and what we need to do is always remember who we are, because we are a good people. And I'm just proud to be an American, and thank you.